Hello y'all, how y'all doing? All right, this video is going to kick off a series of me just talking about different situations in my life, what's going on, and how lies and deceit will tear down the family unit. And anybody that knows me knows I'm an open book. I'll talk to you about just about anything, whether it makes me look good or make me look bad. If it's the truth, it's the truth, and it is what it is. And so there is a generational curse that I've talked about on a couple of my videos. I went in some details, but not as much, but I share. So those that truly know me from my videos that have been with me since I started doing this, y'all know a little glimpse about my life. And I decided to do this because I've really been trying to fix things within my family for the people who have wronged me and who I might have wronged, depending on how they saw a story. Just between us. And at times, sometimes, people don't want to talk. People don't want to talk because they rather believe a lie. So when I be saying a lie is more entertaining than the truth, sometimes I'm not even talking about whatever's going on. I'm talking about my own life, y'all. A lie is better, more entertaining than the truth. And so people look at the lie instead of looking at what is actually what it is. And I wanted to start a series for my healing. I started it last year. It was called A Pathway to Healing, and how I'm dealing with stuff. Now, a lot of stuff that I've talked about in the past, I've healed from. I can still be triggered by it, but I've healed from it. But I know how to self-reflect and deal with myself, because in my family unit, there is nobody to talk to. Not when it comes to me. There's just me. Outside of my family unit, I have someone who is like a sister to me that I tell everything to. So she knows it all from beginning to the end when it comes to where our stories line up. So she knows what's going on, what happened, because I share it with her, because she's the person like I can talk to and get advice. And some of our life sort of mirrored each other, even though we wasn't real family at the time, at one point, because we are at the time now. I had kids from her brother that passed. So 2 of my older kids are from her brother. And so since our life has connected, she's been my source of, and sometimes I used to say it didn't feel fair to her, because when I was talking to her, it was like I was dumping my stuff. Now, she shares stuff with me, but, she's a real sweet person, and she'll listen to whatever you got to say, and she'll try to help you any way she can. And that's just who she is. And so she allowed me to talk to her. As more stuff started coming forth in my life, she even said, Tamara, maybe you need to get some type of counseling to help you out with what you got going on. Y'all excuse me, I'm trying not to cry on this one. That's why a lot of times when I'm doing my videos for SkitLanta, Country Lane, I found that it was easier to do it, especially when I interject myself into it without being on camera, because I can get passionate about it. I can start breaking down and crying, and I ain't want people to see my face. And I was like, well, this is a good way to really release it and really just talk. You can just hear the emotion from my voice. But I'm dealing with a lot of stuff. I'm doing a lot of stuff right now. And unfortunately, family's not there. Now, I got some family members that act like they're there, but then they go behind you and talk behind your back. They're not really there. They're there for the benefit of themselves, not for the full picture. And a lot of times throughout my life, I took that because I was trying to shelter my children. And I said that many of times. I tried to shelter my kids from a lot of stuff. And it was my stepfather who told me that sometimes maybe I need to start showing them stuff so they can really see what's really going on. Because by me sheltering them a lot, I hid a lot of stuff from them. And so that's where you'll hear me say, sometimes silence can create a lie when you don't say anything. So with me, I'd rather tell the truth or just not say anything at all. But sometimes silence creates a lie. Well, everybody has their problems in their family, man. Everybody has issues. Everybody have to deal with something. Nobody gonna see eye to eye from anything. But I truly am a person that likes to listen to everybody. I want to understand what you're saying. So even though I may say what I feel. I still want to understand what you're saying. And y'all can kind of probably relate to that on my comment section. When I ask for your perspective, you tell me, and then I say, well, okay, I see it your way, but now I express my way on how I see it as well. And I say, we can agree to disagree. We ain't got to get into an argument, because I'm really not trying to argue. I'm just trying to show you what I was saying. And I've been told, like, sometimes you don't have to explain yourself to people. Either they believe you or they don't. But I guess that comes from a part of me where I always felt like everybody's just lying. Like, nobody wants to be honest. And then everybody wants you to be honest with them. And hate for a person to lie to them, but they would lie to other people. And it's wrong. And it causes so much division in your family, man. It does. Like, I've been told a long time ago about family, my dad, my stepdad, people I've interacted with throughout my life, my sister that knows everything. Girl, you need to write a book, because some of the stuff that you had to go through and overcame, it's like a lot of people probably can relate to it and probably be like, whoa, I can't believe one person had to go through all this. And yeah, it's a lot. Especially when you take the stance of you want the truth to be known, regardless if it's going to make you look bad or not. The truth still needs to be known. And that's what allows me to self-reflect with a lot of stuff. And that's what a lot of people can't really relate to when it comes to me with that. Because they say, well, you always want to be right about something. No, I don't want to be right. I just want the truth. I just want the truth. So I'll listen to what you have to say. And I ask you to listen to what I'm saying. And even if you don't agree with me, just see what I'm saying so you can get a full picture. You don't have to agree. Just listen. But whenever it comes time for me to talk, nobody wants to listen. So even when it came down to YouTube, I took that personal when I was trying to help people, and nobody wanted to listen to anything I was saying on here. Like, boy, this is real life. Nobody really wants to listen. Nobody wants the truth. Everybody wants to lie. But when you are so grounded in morals and you won't lie, not even for yourself, not for your children, you won't lie for nobody. People are not going to like that, because they don't want their truth to come out. I dug myself an open book, and it ain't nothing for me at this point in my life to share it. It's not. I'll tell it all if you want to know it. But other people that interact in my life, they may say, well, you shouldn't have said that because that involves me, but you're part of my life and you did this to me. So why can't I talk about it? Why should I have to hold that in and deal with it on my own? Especially when I come to you and you don't give me an opportunity to try to talk to you, because you don't want to see where you might have went wrong. And this has started from the beginning, even from my mom, y'all. I share with y'all that I found out when I was 42 that, the dad I grew up with was not my real dad, by my real father. He reached out to me and he made his appearance known to me that he was my real father. And it hurt, because throughout my life, I questioned a lot of stuff. Like, it didn't make any sense. My mom was older than my dad. He was a year or so. But if my mom had me at a young age, you had to be extremely young. And the grandma I knew didn't make any sense. That was first clue for me, even when I was young. Second clue was just how I was treated from my sister and my brother inside my home. It was different, It was more like I had to beg and ask for stuff. They didn't. They can ask for it and have it. I would have to have something and stuff would get taken away. And, you pass stuff down to your family members. But I would get stuff taken away from me and given to someone outside of the home. Wouldn't give it to them, because really some of the stuff I had really didn't have it anyway. I mean, my brothers and sisters, they always had name brand this or name brand that. And I got stuff as well. I got some of the stuff that they got, but I never really held like a strong possession of stuff, because growing up in my house, it seemed like stuff mattered, material stuff mattered. Like if you damage stuff, you get your behind toe up, even if it was an accident. There was no gray area. It was always you're right or you're wrong, right? And I took a lot of the burden when it came to stuff happening because I was the oldest. So my brother and my sister did something wrong, even if I wasn't involved in it. I got my boy high with them, like I did it. What am I getting whooped for? I didn't even know this was going on, right? And that too probably what kept me as honest as I was throughout my life, because I'm trying to tell everybody the truth and I'm getting fought for something I did not do, but yet I got to pay the price like I did. And that was the dynamics between my brothers and sisters, and we were close, but when it came to stuff like that, it almost drove a wedge between us a little bit, because we argued like siblings do, but mine was arguing it with them about, how I felt, how I was treated differently than my brothers and sisters. And the older I got, the more obvious it became. And now that I know things, and I know who my father was raised with, he the type hold grudges. He the type that if you don't like you, don't like you. So if he don't like my father, my real father, and he had this lie between him and my mother going on, I can now see why my mom allowed my dad to treat me a certain way. And it wasn't always bad. No, I don't want nobody to think, oh, he's just a horrible dad to me. No, he wasn't. In fact, him and my brother's relationship I talk about wasn't that great. And what he couldn't do with my brother, he tried to do it with me. So that's why I know a lot of stuff that I know, how to work on cars, how to fix stuff and stuff like that. Because where he couldn't do it with my brother, he did it with me. And sometimes I think now that he did that to prepare me for the life that I had to go through, because I was going to do a lot of it on my own. And he knew my truth, even though I didn't know my truth. But they treated me differently. So there was something there that made me see that something wasn't right. And I questioned it. And why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? Then I had a family member that everybody dubbed as crazy. And she had said it when I was my early teens or preteens, that he wasn't my dad. And what do you mean he's not my dad? Now she added to what I already suspected. And I do. If I want to know something, I question and I ask. That's how I am, y'all. I tell y'all, I am like what you see on this online is who I am. There's no, I'm not faking fun with nobody. I'm who I am. And I asked my parents. Well, first I told my brother, and I told him not to say anything. And then it came out in an argument, which I shared between me and my brother at the dinner table one day, because we always would sit down as a family. And he said, that's why I'm not you. That's why you're not my sister anyway. And my dad looked at me, he was like, what you mean? Tamara said that you're not her dad. I don't ever want to hear y'all say that again in this house. I am her dad. But Bobby said you wasn't. My cousin. I don't care what she said. I'm your father. I'm all y'all father. And if I ever hear you say it again, I'm going to whoop your behind. So for years, I never really said anything. I just started paying attention to how I was treated. And it wasn't great, y'all. So I took it as when I got to a certain age that my father no longer wanted to, and now I take it like that, but then I didn't know what was going on. He just got to a point where he didn't want to deal with another man's child anymore. He had his own kids to focus on. But he had issues with his own kids. He made my sister feel like she was worthless because of her weight, even though they gave her everything she wanted. He beat my mom all the time. And if she disagreed, it was an argument all throughout the house. My brother and him, he would whoop us. Sometimes he would whoop us just because he was mad at my mom. And that's how it was. But as kids get older, you don't have to tolerate stuff. You don't have to deal with it no more. You don't have to do that. You can stand up for yourself when you feel like you can finally stand up for yourself. And growing up, I was like my sister and my brother's protector. And I just took everything because they treated me different anyway. So why not? I grew up, when it came time, because there was always a question in my mind as to who am I? When I grew up and started dating, I made sure I dated people that I knew couldn't possibly be my family. But then how could I know that? Because I don't really know who my dad is. Yeah. And I've never seen color in anybody. I've never seen color. Like, I see a person, I don't see color. So it doesn't matter. But anytime I date somebody, I always go through the drill in my head, like, who are you related to? You know this person? Because I told you my family is huge back home. And I was just trying to make sure that I never, if something wasn't right, I never messed with anybody that was my family. If I dated outside of my race, of course I couldn't mess with anybody in my family because I'm black, right? Well, that ain't always true either, y'all. Although I never dated anybody in my family. Let me go ahead and clear that up. I don't want no misunderstandings there. But I dig deep before I got involved with somebody. But as I grew up, it became harder, especially from the choices I've made in my life. For what I chose to do, I decided to have kids. That was me. That was my choice. When I was 18, you know. But I've always been the type to be a hustler, a go-getter, one who always want to work. To this day, I still work a lot other than now because for the past year, I've been helping family. And so working was never an issue with me. You know, I had 2-3 jobs at one time at some point in my life. But when it came down to me struggling and needing help, there was nothing. I had nobody to turn to. Not my mom, because my mom would always say, well, your dad said, I can't give it to you. Okay. You know, when I started having kids, they would do stuff for my kids. It seemed like with no problem, like whenever they wanted to, because they made the mention, tell me, they don't have to do for my kids. Those are my kids. So they're not obligated for my kids, and that's my responsibility. And they're absolutely right. They don't have to do absolutely nothing for them. So I had to figure out how to do stuff on my own. Good or bad, right or wrong. And with the strain I had with my mom's relationship, like they say, well, father's not there, you don't know how to be a man. Well, when your mother don't love you, you don't know how to be a woman either. When your mother can't care about you, every time she look at you, you fucking a disappointment to her, no matter what. Even when you're successful, until she wants to brag about you to everybody. But what do you do then? Cause I didn't know how. I had to learn on my own. I watched people. I saw what they did. My grandma always worked. My granddaddy always worked. So I knew you had to work. We came from a working family. My mom always worked with my dad. He was in the military. So work was never an issue. That's why I tell y'all people money ain't everything. Because at one point I had more money than I could have did whatever I wanted to. But because the way I was brought up, like, I really didn't value stuff. I didn't. I still don't. I don't care about name brand shoes. I don't care about name brand clothes. I'm a real plain Jane. I really am. But when I get to dress, I can dress if I want to. I'm just not into it. But that was molded into me because of my life. Of nobody really caring about Tamara. From my parents or nobody else. I had more love for friends out on the street than I did in the home. So my reputation as a person growing up, I would try to help whoever I can. Not to feel what I feel. I didn't like bullies. I didn't like people that wrong people. anything to represent what I saw at home and how I was treated in my life, I went against. For those that couldn't fight for themselves, I fought for them. And I took on a lot, all while trying to deal with my own flaws. I was mean. I'd fight all the time. And whoever I fought, I took my aggressions out on the person that I fought, whatever I was doing. And I don't even recall too many fights I lost, except for one time I got jumped. But I went back and got each one by themselves. But so I had to learn how to be a mother. I had to learn how to deal with my own issues. I took on other people's issues, and yes, that was me. That was who I was. And I hadn't quite learned, and I'm still trying to figure out now how. I can't expect yourself from other people. That's a hard one because I can accept that from anybody else. But it's hard to accept that from my family. I've been lied on, called all kinds of names. Yeah, your typical person, people who manage like your baby father or stuff like that. No, I'm not talking about that. Even though I have been, that don't affect me whatsoever. But I'm talking about from your family. From people they claim to love you. And lies made up about me from my own mother. Because she didn't know what was going on in my life at one point. Because although I loved her, I just couldn't be around her. People was telling me I let her go, just walk away from her. But that part of me always wanted to be connected to my mom because she's still my mom, you know? You know, my dad used to, I don't know if he thought it was funny or twisted or both. He used to ask me those scenarios like, what would you do if I leave your mom, or whose side you gonna be on? And I'm like, I love you, Dad, but that's my mom. Because the question in my head was, what if you wasn't? Since nobody wanted to talk about it. But I dealt with that. And whenever I needed to do something for my kids, I did it. I put them on child support. But if they paid it, they paid it. And if they didn't, they didn't. I didn't care. I didn't. Because I was dealing with enough stuff on my own that was the least of my problems. Until I got to a point where I needed some kind of help. I had no choice but to ask for help. And so I pushed the issue. The only issue I could push was child support with my older 2 kids' father. And anybody asked, it was like, man, you don't play with that girl because she'll ask you, you don't do, and then she'll figure it out on her own. Whether or not she'll have to call the people for yourself and tell them, hey, that's where he is so we can get some type of support. And it's sad I had to do that, but I had to. I had to do that. And at one point, my sister, who is his sister, I literally had to call the cops at her house just to get help. And it drove a wedge between me and her. She said, I understand why you did it, but I just wish you would have told me before you did it. And I was like, man, that's your brother, and I don't want to put you in the middle of me or your brother. So I just love you out of it. Because at the end of the day, I'm not your family. He is. And she was like, no, you're my sister. My brother wrong, you wrong. I just needed you to tell me. So I told her why I did what I did. It took her a minute to get over it, but she eventually forgave me. And she said that I wouldn't have stopped you from doing it. I was just hurt you never told me because I thought we was closer than that. I told her I understood. But the idea was given to me by another friend of ours because I wouldn't have even thought to do anything like that because I never really pushed the issue when it came to child support. But she was telling me how she turned her baby's father, and he always at his sister's house, so just call him since he keep dodging everybody, and they'll get him and they'll be able to finally get track of him because he was doing a lot of stuff like under the table, so he couldn't get it. And I think that's what turned me and his relationship after we got over that part to the better, because he started seeing me for I'm just really just trying to raise my kids and I don't have any help. But I did. And at one point when she wasn't talking to me, I had nobody else to talk. Nobody. His mom opened her house up to me and was there like family to me. Because she was like a mom figure, and I always told her, like, I don't even have this kind of relationship with my mom, and I loved her. But me and her always had one issue alone. It was just one, but it was a big one. She could never see my second daughter past her son. Not that what she was in her head. She just couldn't see past him because she kept saying, she's just like her daddy. She's just like her daddy. And her son didn't get along. And I used to be like, you might be seeing some parts of her dad in her, but this is still my child. Like, you can't be treating my child like that. You can't be treating my child like that. And either you're going to treat both of my kids the same, or we're not going to be around here. And when we got to a head, when we blew up to a head, because I kept putting with a lot of stuff about that, only to find out I was knowing when she was doing it. Because when me and her sister was talking, her daughter, who I call my sister, years later, she would come to tell me she does the same thing with my family, our family. But I said, how do y'all deal with that? Because I can't deal with stuff like that. You treat everybody the same. Nobody's better than nobody. And she was like, girl, I just do. But it's not right. So me and her always had that issue when it came to my second daughter. And she was bad. I'm not saying that she wasn't bad. She did stuff, that she shouldn't have did. She got reprimanded. But because when I had my kids at that point in my life, I didn't really like whooping a kid all the time because, man, we got beat. Well, whoopings for nothing in my own home. Like, you could talk to a kid before you whoop them. So in my home, I was established that we could talk to each other. You could talk to me. You have a voice. You don't have to feel like you, even when it comes to me, I'm your mama, and you can still have a voice when it comes to me. Might not agree with you, but still got a voice. And I raised them like that. So she was always I tell everybody she's like my twin for real. She was me before I changed. And so I can relate to what she's doing and what she's saying and how she's going about stuff, because a lot of the stuff she did, I felt and did the same way. But I try to use that opportunity to show her what not to do. So where I might have messed up at, you don't have to, Over the years of being a single mom, I guess, and always working and having to either have my kids in school, daycare, or with somebody else so I could try to support my kids. Because I didn't on my own. I didn't believe in Section 8 or I didn't believe in none of that. I barely believed in food stamps until I had no other choice but to believe in, because it was either that or I couldn't eat. Me and my kids couldn't eat. But the moment I could get off of that mess, I got off of it, because I feel like If you're able-bodied, why are you getting on this mess? Like, you gotta tell too much of your business for this little bit of crap. It's not worth it to me, you know. So I can do what I gotta do on my own. So I know a lot of me being away from the house and not always working and not being a mother inside the home where my kids can see me all the time because I played the role of mother and father. I know that caused problems. And being that I had as many kids as I did and I did not have support, you know, I couldn't always do everything at one point in my life. Like, it was one point where we did it all. We went on vacations, had lavish birthday parties. I gave my kids what other people were trying to give my kids that maybe I shouldn't have gave because I got 5, you know, because I don't want them to feel like they have to get this from other people. They can get it from at home, you know. So where I didn't care about material things, I think I might have still put that in my own kids by trying to do something for them instead of teaching them that this stuff don't matter. You know, and when I couldn't afford it, I did what I had to do to go get it because my kids wanted it. But me personally, I never had name brand shoes. I bought my shoes from Walmart. I never had a whole bunch. I never had name brand clothes. I don't care about that. You know, at one point, only reason I wore a half wig because I didn't want to comb my hair. Y'all see what I have to deal with. And then people was like, you're real tomboyish. You need to, you're a pretty girl. You got nice legs. You need to be on dresses and stuff. I'm like, I don't like that. I like shorts. You know, I'm just this is who I am. You know, I'm not that type of person. But trying to hang with people, fit in with them, they looking like gorgeous women, and I'm around here looking like I'm about to go shoot hoops. You know, so I tried it. It just wasn't me. I couldn't do it. Like, you know. Like, person had to really like love me for me. But I know that caused issues when it came to my family. With my family, I'm talking about my kids, my family. Because they had to go stay with family a lot while I worked to make sure they had a roof over their head. I left one job and went to the next. And my mom would say to me sometimes, she would like, well, this one I'm telling you, my mom, like, I get what she was saying, because she was like, you need to go get on assistance. You got all them kids. You think you better than somebody. No, Mom, I don't think I'm better than somebody else. I'm a single mother with all these girls, and I don't want them to be in a situation where they might have get entangled with something and then it's all out of control because there's no man in this house. So I'm trying to keep them where I know, or I can keep it at a minimum for my kids. You just want to live in where the white people live at. Why you gotta call them white people? No, I just want to live in something decent. I don't care about anything else. I don't care about clothes and shoes and all that. But one thing I do care about is my house. You know, I care about my kids having something nice for them. That's what I care about. So in my house, although outside world, I might look like plain Jane, in my house, it was beautiful. We had everything. To make their life as easy as it could be. Because that's where they, outside of school, that's where they was going to spend a lot of their time in their house. And I had a lot. And I'm the type of person, if somebody needed something, I would give it. I don't care about that because I'm not a materialistic person. Never have been. Never will be. But that's where I faltered when it came to parenting. I worked too much. I sheltered my kids from a lot of stuff. When it came to people talking about me and stuff like that, I dealt with them. But when they interject my kids, I backed down. I backed away. Because I didn't want them to miss out. Because somebody's mad at me. So what other was I'm saying, I need to just leave my parents, leave my family, because the way they was treating me, I put up with the bull. so my kids can have what I had and then some. Because although we had problems inside the house, I grew up in a 2-parent home. Even though it wasn't my father, I still grew up in a 2-parent home. We went places. We had nice cars. We had nice houses. And so here I am with kids, and I gotta do what I gotta do to make sure they have better than I had. But what I was missing out on is just being there. You know? I would write at one point when me and my ex-husband got separated for the second time. I would write him and just beg in the emails, man, I don't care what you say to me or what you say about me. Just take care of my kids, please. Just do it for my children. You know? I ain't even pressing you about child support at this point. Just whatever you can do, just do it. You know? I just need help. They need help. You know, they shouldn't have to suffer for what me and you are going through. He wouldn't give it. I got my family to take care of. Y'all ain't my family. My family's right here. Basically saying the woman he was with, that he cheated with me with, it was his family, her kids was his, although biologically it wasn't his, but yeah, he still had to take care of him because it was his kids. And he lived in the house with him. Okay, but what about your kids? So that's the stance he took. And the only time he had an issue with me is when they took something from him, whether it was tax returns or... That's really it. It was just tax returns. I think that was the only time I really got money. I think I only did that because I think at some point he just stopped filing his taxes because I guess he felt I was going to get it and he wasn't going to give me no money. He wasn't going to give it to me. So, you know, I told y'all at one point with my older 2 kids' father, when I was mad at him, I used to say to the kids, and like, you're sorry, Daddy, he ain't doing that for you and all that. And some friend of mine's convicted me on that. She was like, you're wrong for doing that. I had to take a hard look at myself and say, you're right, I am. And I need to fix that. So stop. I just dealt with however I was feeling by myself. I talked to my sister, who was not my sister. I couldn't even talk to my parents. Had nobody else because I really didn't have a lot of friends. Because I stayed to myself. I dealt with it. That was my life. And then my husband came back and he, at one point we got together or whatever, but it didn't last long. And we got a divorce and I talked about that. I'm not even gonna even get into that. I was back on my own after the divorce. Raising my kids. But I got to a point where things started happening and things started happening back to back with no help, nobody. Everybody want to talk about what you could do, but when you ask them for something, they can't do it. My one cousin, who I was very close with, she would help me, but she had her own family. She had her own kids. She had her own husband. So she couldn't do stuff all the time, you know what I'm saying? So she's like, what about your parents? And I'm like, girl, they're not gonna help me do nothing. They never do. So she even took it on her own to try to reach out to them. Like, y'all need to stop doing her like this. You see she's trying and nobody wanna give her no help. Like, what the hell? And sometimes my mom will make excuses to why she didn't do it. And then others she'll be like, well, I send this if you can give her that. Or you just give it to her and I pay her back. And at first my cousin was doing it. And then she stopped. She was like, why is she sending it to me and she just don't send it to you? I said, because she don't want to. That's just that. You know? I got to a point where I said, I'll never ask her for nothing else. I'm done. No matter what I go through. If I can't figure it out, I'm not going to her. And so that kind of really spearheaded me trying to figure out what was the truth about myself, which made me almost lose my mind trying to find out, is this man my father? Is there somebody else out there? You know, I had nothing to go on, no names, nobody knew nothing. I had stories. When I finally started talking, people kept saying they remember my mom with somebody, but they were giving me different names depending on who I was talking. I'm like, oh my God, like, who is this? They were always talking about the same person, but they all called them different stuff. And then his actual name, nobody referred him to as nothing. I mean, so clearly my mom didn't tell y'all, or she told y'all all stories or different stories, because whoever this person was, that wasn't him. But they spoke of him and described him who he is right now. Everyone always had the same description, but his name always changed. So I don't know what was up with that. And I went on a search because they said at just some point my mom just accepted my dad as my dad. So now I got family reconfirming it, but I have no proof of it because my mom is telling me it's not that. And don't be listening to what people tell you because it's not true. Yeah, it was true. It was very true. So on top of my wanting to find the truth about my life, what I was going through, trying to be a mother, trying to be there for my kids, was taking on a lot. Getting talked about, because y'all don't know what's really going on in my life because I ain't talking to nobody. So they're making up stories about me. I'm like, wow. Yeah, I already got to hear it from my ex-husband of stuff he said that ain't true. You know, I'm a person that document everything, y'all. I document literally everything. I keep receipts. I got receipts, as y'all call them, since I started having kids, and I still have them. And I could prove everything I was saying because I was never lying about anything. Why lie? Nothing good come out of a lie. But it caused me to go through, like, I was battling with myself, like, seriously. I was contemplating taking my life. Like, I wanted to end everything. Because it just seemed like the weight of the world was on my shoulder and I had no help whatsoever from anybody. At one time, I questioned my faith in God. Because I had completely surrendered myself over because I'm like, what kind of God allows this? When you try to be honest with everybody and nobody is being honest with you. When you try to do the right thing and nothing works out. And that geared into me with forgiveness of other people. I had a hard time to forgive people. And ultimately forgiving myself for some things that I've done. Talking about, like, what I told you, when I married my husband, because he was a good guy, but I told y'all in the story, I probably should have never married the man because I didn't really love him. I loved the idea of him. I didn't love him at the time, but eventually I fell in love with him. And I had to let go of my hurt in order to be in a relationship. I had to try to work on myself by myself. But all while having all this anger and rage inside me. That's why I've always told people, like, I can deal with you, but could you deal with me? If God don't hold me back, could you deal with me? But it takes a lot for me to get to that point. I take a lot before I get to a point where I feel like forget everything and just give them what they gave you times 1,000. So I struggle with a lot of stuff. I struggle with a lot of stuff. That's why I said I'm glad I don't drink or don't smoke, because Lord knows if I did, I wouldn't be here. I just had to figure out other ways to deal with my stress. Not having nobody there. Trying to stay with the truth on everything. The truth ain't easy. The truth is not. Don't make you feel good all the time, but the truth is the truth. And at some point, people have to be honest. But some people will take a lie to their graves. No matter who it affects. And so my mom, man, I love her because she's my mom. But if I take mom out of that and just look at her as a person, she has some evil ways about her. Real evil ways about her. And she masked them with Christianity. I don't know if she got like that because of life, because of her unforgiveness. I don't know. Like I told my mom, I think I got to a certain point where I felt like I had healed and forgave my mom. I was like, Mom, let's just talk about it. Because you shouldn't have to live like this. You shouldn't have to live with bitterness in your heart against somebody. Just talk. Just get healed when you need so we can work on us. She don't want to do it. She did nothing wrong in her eyes. But she did. She did a lot. She did a lot that was wrong. You know, sometimes I feel like I make excuses for my mom instead of just saying for what it is. Because in those excuses, I'm able to hold on just a little bit longer before I say I'm done. For real this time. Man, y'all. Man, the hate my mom has for me is something serious. Resentment. I even told her one time, why you just didn't have an abortion? Like, why you just didn't get it? Have you had that much animosity towards me? Why not just get rid of me? I'd rather you have done that than to keep me and live your life in a bunch of misery. But I honestly think that her family just wouldn't let her. And that's what it all boils down to. Her family would not let her have an abortion. And they forced her to keep a child she did not want. And because of her family doing that to her, I bore the treatment. And so she feels like she does nothing wrong. I've heard the stories, her family made it seem like she wasn't a good mom and she couldn't take care of me. And I can believe that because of most of my memories of my childhood, I was with my grandma or my auntie, who I thought was her best friend, or their family. I can believe that. Until she probably met my dad. And so it causes strain on her family and their family relation dynamic. And it's still there because none of them wants to heal, none of them wants to forgive. But that's what makes me say I don't want that. I don't want that in my life. I don't want that to continue. I don't want that in my children's lives. And you would think she would just stop at me. I think I could deal with it a little bit better if it was just me she did this to. She did it to my kids as well. Just in a different way. She talked to my kids about your mom's not this, your mom's just trying to live this life and trying to act like she's something that she's not. And my mom did some stuff. She done said some stuff about me that I know she said. And other family members outside of my immediate family have told me she said it. And they don't lie. And they don't talk to my mom to this day because of it. But she denies it when you ask them. I didn't say that. Yeah, you did. They have no reason to lie on you. And what they said, how would they even know if you didn't tell them? But you added your own stuff in there because you didn't know what actually was happening. And so I couldn't quite figure it out raising my kids, but I had a feeling that's what was going on. She was talking to my children and telling them stuff, and they would bring, because the way they would act when they come home and when they would do stuff. Why are you doing that? Why are you doing this? So I'm looking at stuff that was changing. And when I was already dealing with the issue with my older two kids' mother, with my second child, I knew how to look for stuff that when someone's doing or saying something, just by what she was trying to do with her, how I was treated. You can see things, just people tend to want to turn a blind eye to it. I ask my kids, like, what happened? What happened at your house? Some people have to do this with their children fathers. I had to do this with my mother. And so some people were like, well, why you just let your kids go over around your mom? Because then they wouldn't have a relationship with her. If I didn't have a relationship with her, then they wouldn't have a relationship with her. And despite how she treated me, I still wanted her to be there for her grandkids. Same way where I continued to be around my older two kids' father's mom when we didn't agree. Because they still need to know their grandmother. And I kept telling her, she gotta learn how to forgive your son, man. You have to learn how to do that. My son's just sorry. You okay? Yeah, he got some issues, but you're still his mom at the end of the day. I honestly think she loved me more. She showed me more love than from the time I knew her than when I saw her showing her son, and that was just honest to God truth. And that was part of the reason why he could never forgive himself, because he didn't have a relationship with his mom nor his dad. And I knew that. And my family, I just say all the time, my family is something else, man. I started learning more and more of the stuff my mom was saying to me to my children behind my back and to other family members, and try to process it and deal with that while still trying to be a part of the family. And then stuff my dad, who wasn't my dad, it was making her not do with me. I just got to a point where I was like, I'm done. I'm done with all y'all. I'm done with you. I'm done with him. He ain't my father anyway. And when that whole thing came out about him, because that me saying that came out after I found out that I had my father, which was when I was 42. That was 8 years ago. I tried to go and talk with him, despite everything that was going on or had happened over my life. I just wanted answers. I heard what my real dad had said had happened, and he didn't disrespect neither one of them. He didn't put them down. He said it was his fault. He told me the whole story. I wanted to hear my mom's side of it, but she didn't want to tell me nothing. Whatever your daddy told you is what he told you. Whatever that man, because he didn't say my daddy, whatever that man told you, he told you. I don't have to tell you anything. Mom, you don't think after 42 years, I deserve something? Okay. Your daddy is your daddy. He raised you. He didn't raise you. And I ain't do nothing wrong. And I'm not going to talk to you nor him. If you want to find out something, then you go talk to him and let him tell you whatever he want to tell you. Or whoever else want to tell you something. Let them tell you that. I don't care. I know. That's the whole point. You don't care. And that's the sad part. You don't care. You don't care enough to fix this. This was before I even became a grandmother. I had realized, my mom had been speaking negative to me, to my kids, over the years. I knew that. I knew she turned family against me whenever I didn't agree to what she said. She would run to her sister and tell stories to make it seem like, and I'm not, when my aunt came, I used to talk, I'm not finna keep doing this with my mom. Like, this don't even make sense, auntie. Like, and I would have to prove myself. Like, I would have to show her, well, why would your mom do that? I don't know. You tell me. That's the whole question that I'm trying to figure out. Why does my mom does this? Somebody tell me this. And now everybody tells me when I'm trying to deal with stuff, well, that happened. Yes, she did. That she was wrong, but you got to get over it. You're 50 years old. You have to get over it now. And if she don't want to do it, she don't want to tell you, so what? But then when they have an issue with their stuff and their father, why does that happen when it comes to me? Why is it's not the same when it's me with my issue with my father and my mother? I've been there for everybody. I put up with a lot of things when it comes for my kids. Since I never really got help from my family, I've always said, you need me. If I ain't got it, I'm going to figure out how to go make it. Go make it. And get it for you. Dub the name, Miss Make It Happen. Why should I put my feelings to the side when it comes to that? When none of you do. None of you. Because that is our grandfather and he raised us and he take care of. I never said they wasn't there for you. And although I've never said it, there were a lot of times they weren't there for y'all. But they have done something. Because I never wanted to taint the image of your grandparents to y'all. Why? I'll deal with it. Well, I don't know that. I don't know them like that. I know that's your mother, that's your father. Granddaddy is your daddy. You have to deal with him. I don't care about your dad because he wasn't there. He made the choice. Even if he did decide to come back, she already had to find somebody. So what? But did you listen to what his story is? He says that, but he said he wanted to do right, and they wouldn't let him. He wanted a relationship with me, but they wouldn't let him. And he tried. And when he couldn't do it no more, he just stopped. Did you hear that side of the story? And do you hear my mom's side of the story when she said, this is your daddy? And you can listen to that man all you want, but I'm not going to tell you anything. I did nothing wrong. And so now that I got a name and a picture and a face and a voice, a phone number and an address of who he is, I could go and see him and talk to him and mend my relationship and get to know who I am through my father. All these little things I could. But now it's you betraying the family because you're going over there, even with me trying to bring us together. I did we went out, he took us out to eat one time, me and my kids, and everybody got pissed because that happened. My mom and my dad, of course, and it sprinkled over to my kids, and he ain't been there, and now he's trying to come back after all these years and all this other stuff, but she wouldn't let him. What was he supposed to do? But let's get to know who he is now. That's your daddy. And why would you go over there to them? Then that really caused a big rift between me and my second daughter, on top of all the issues that we already dealing with how she acts. And that's one of the most selfish women I ever seen in my life when it comes to her. It really is. I speak highly of my children for the great things that they do. Like, she went to college. She's of interest. She's going to go whenever she wants to go. She's a great mother to her daughter she has with her. To the surface. I'll say that. But the girl ain't right. And those words her grandmother told me, I'll see who she really is. Wait, she gonna show me who she really is. Never rang more true in my ears. Because she's right. She's selfish. And she was just like a dad. And I know why, y'all. Because the girl can hold a grudge like crazy. But every time she tells a story, I know why. But every time she tells a story, it's a different reason as to why. So I guess at this point, I think it's all just bound up into all of it, because everything's going to be the reason as to why she feels the way she feels, depending on who she's telling the story to. Because when I first asked her, it was because she felt like I put their fathers on a pedestal and they didn't do anything. So she looked down on me for doing that. Another time we was talking and she said it was because I didn't throw her birthday parties, and that's why she travels all the time, because everybody else got great parties, but when it came to her, she didn't. And I'm like, girl, what are you talking about? Yes, you did. But your birthday was at the end of the year, so sometimes when I was doing bad, I couldn't afford to do anything, so I did what I could at the house. But I gave you something. I just couldn't give you the extravagant stuff that I used to when I didn't have the money. Like, what are you talking about? Then it was, well, I feel this way because I think we close and we talk and stuff like that, but I just feel like sometimes you and my relationship with my oldest daughter, I'm not gonna say her name here, but my oldest daughter, that she say her name, that y'all relationship is bad and a little bit strained, so y'all don't talk. I said, well, what's strained about our relationship? And she said, well, she feels like she can't really come to you and talk to you. I said, why she feel like that? I've always told y'all come talk to me. Because she feel like you're not going to listen out to her for her or whatnot. She feels like you're not going to understand what she got to say. Y'all always got this like strain or issue between y'all two. And I'm like, how? Why are you saying all this? Because this is not the case. Was I harder on her? Yes, I will admit to that. I was harder on her because she was the oldest. And I remember when she was younger, I told, because I thought I was about to lose everything and I wasn't going to be here. And I was telling her, please promise me you would never, ever not take care and keep our family together. Because if I'm not here, then it goes on you. And you be there for your family. You be there for your brothers and your sisters. You be there if I can't be. Because I honestly, at the time, I just thought I was going to take myself out of here. Because it was just too much. And that was a lot to put on a kid. I was wrong for that. Yeah, but she kept that promise. I made her keep me. And where I wasn't, she was. And I think that was sort of what really turned our relationship, because sometimes she took on the motherly role when I wasn't there, whether I wasn't there for work or whatnot. So she took on a lot. She went from the child everybody put on a pedestal to now the child that's feeling burdened because now her mom's going through what she's going through. And yes, she had to watch the kids sometimes. I don't think that's right. If you're older, you shouldn't have to. I had to learn from that. I didn't know that because I did it. I watched my brothers and sisters. But I know now, if you don't put that on the child, if you can't afford it, you kind of figure out some other way to do it, because that's not the child. But have I done that? Yes, I have. Because I didn't think, I didn't have no other way to do it. Have she just been there for comfort for them, for brothers and sisters, like I was there for my brothers and sisters when I'm in my household? She has. And she's a very sweet person. And she takes a lot before she explodes. I will never take that away from her. She's very sweethearted and kind. But it took her getting to become an adult to kind of see a lot of things that I was doing and why I was doing things. And we've had that talk. That's why I couldn't understand what my other daughter was saying. But now I know she's just a freaking manipulator. She's just trying to switch it. So that's what it is. Because when I talked to my daughter and I asked her what the other daughter said, I never said that. What? Why was she telling me this, though? Never mind, forget it. I know why she's the girl. And she'll tell you, she lies, she'll lie before she tells you the truth, the benefit herself. She's honest about her lies, which is crazy. She'll tell you if you catch her, but you gotta catch her first. Which kind of threw me, because I'm the type of person that want to get down and stuff. And I talked with my daughter. She was like, no, I just think our relationship was a little bit strained, because of what you said, mainly because I had to take on a lot of stuff when you either had to work or not. And I felt like I was a kid and I had a lot of pressure on me. I said, I can understand that. And that was wrong. That was wrong for a child to have to, because I had to go to work or I had to do this to be there with your brothers and sisters, but you were the oldest and you were all I had. I couldn't afford nothing. She said, no, I understand that now. I didn't understand it as a kid, but I understand it now. I be trying to say that now. I look at it like, how in the world my mom did this? Because I can't do what she did, So, but to my other daughter, it was always, oh, she's never going to talk to you. She was, I never told her I was never going to talk to you. I'm like, well, that's what she told me. Forget it, just forget it. I'm understanding it now. I get it. She just used that to manipulate me. Because I know she about figured when it comes with me with her, because of how everyone treated her, like she came from somebody else when she was both of ours, not her dad treated like her, but just her grandma. She always looked for that love. I probably overcompensated for her sometimes. And then when I couldn't do it, she held that against me. Unknowingly. I didn't know it until she started talking and until I started figuring out lies. This girl, let me tell y'all how bad it was. This girl, because I couldn't get her what she wanted for her graduation, when it was time for her to graduate, she called Department of Children and Family on me. Because at that time, we were staying in a hotel. And she was like, they ain't have no food to eat and all this other stuff. So when they came there and they seen I had food there, but it wasn't a lot, it was like, okay, I see what's going on. So they helped me. It was like, there's no case, but we'll help y'all, get some food. And they try to help me get a house or whatever. But she later came out years later and confessed that she was the one who called them on me because she wanted stuff for her graduation that I could not get. That's crazy. My own child. The one I protected. The one who told me to have an abortion that I refused to, because you don't have to take care of my child, but I'm not aborting my child. I always have people say, parents got favors, but I had never had a favor. But if I had to say who I did the most for, I would probably have to say her. And I find out my child did that to me for stuff that don't even first matter. You didn't even do it because you wanted more food in the a hotel we were staying in. You did it because you wanted stuff I couldn't afford to buy. And they got it for her, which was crazy. They got it for her. But I had to go through all that trying to figure out, why would anybody do this to me? I'm just trying to take care of my kids. Nobody want to help. I'm out there working every day, making sure I pay for this room so me and my kids have a place to stay. Like, who would freaking do this? If you don't help me, why hurt me? And it was my own child. Sucking that up. I had to forgive her because she's still my kid. She was young and stupid. I had a time when my sister actually called on me one time when we stayed with my sister. Now, mind you, when my daughter called, that was the second time, but my real sister called Department of Children and Families because we got into an argument. That same daughter was trying to be grown, and she was trying to do this and try to do that, and they was meeting me. I think they was trying to talk to some boys, and at the time I didn't know my girls ain't gonna be around here pregnant, at no young age. They're all going to school. They're gonna make something of themselves. They're not, But my sister, she was the cool aunt. She was the one they went to. And she allowed them to do that. Now she later came back and she told me, I apologize for doing that. I was young and I was stupid. I should have never did that with your girls. You were right. You shouldn't have did those. I was wrong. I should have never did that. People make mistakes. I get it, But I had to still deal with it. My daughter was in her teenage age, and my sister had put weave in her hair, and she was dressing all provocative and stuff like that. And I was like, my kid is not wearing this mess in her head, and she's not wearing these clothes, And I said that, she's gonna take this out right now, because it was something that she had did, and I said she was gonna take the hair out, and she was like, I'm not taking it. I said, well, either you'll take it out or I cut it out, but it's coming out. That's my hair. That's my hair. Don't cut my hair. Don't cut. That's not your hair. That's weave, and it's not yours. And take it out. So I used to do some crazy mess. Instead of whooping him, I would say dumb stuff that probably still wasn't right, but I still said it. So I said, well, either you take it out or we're gonna pull it out. I said, what you want this nail to take it out? Nail take out hair. You want me to say put it in there? Oh my God, you want to take it out? I said, girl, I'm not going to freaking put the nail in your hair. I mean, she flipped out, but I did say what I said, but I didn't do it. So she told my sister that I was going to put nail in her hair and take her hair out. My sister believed everything she said, which I told her. I said it. I didn't do it, but I said it, and I was wrong for saying it, but I did. They called the Department of Children and Families on me. I told them the story, what happened. I said, you could check them. I ain't do nothing to her, but I did say it. I know not to do that. I wouldn't do that to my child, but I was just trying to make her take the hair out. She was getting grown, and I just said that. I said, I'll take it all out. Just being sarcastic. But of course, they had to open a case on me. They had to keep checking on me or whatever, and they never found nothing. They closed it out. My daughter told her, my mama tried to make me bald headed by putting hair in my hair. I said, I never did that. I said that, but I never did that. This girl is a freaking liar. But everybody knew she was a liar. Which caused at the time me and my sister to get into some stuff. Because she was trying to be the cool aunt to my kids. And her friend, who's no longer here with us, she passed a couple of years ago, about a year or so ago. She was her best friend and like a sister to her. And I always thought she got my sister into doing stuff that I never thought my sister would do. And I thought it was because of her, but later my sister told me, no, I actually got her into doing it. And it was because of my brother who got her into it. And so I had looked at it wrong, but for that, me thinking something that it wasn't, I formed an opinion about this girl that I couldn't stand. I'm like, man, before you came into my sister's life. He wasn't like this, but now you like dragging my damn sister down, you know. So she used to try to call me, like, no, sis, I love you. Girl, you don't get your behind away from me. I mean, and it was just like that. So, you know, I had a strained relationship with her friend, and she did some slick stuff, but what I was upset with her about never occurred. It was my sister that did it the other way around. And it didn't come out until later, right shortly before she had passed away, what the truth was, because I never knew the truth until we was all sitting down talking. But during this particular time, her friend was trying to stick up for my sister for being on my daughter's side. And she called herself wanting to jump on me. And I don't know why she did that. I'm like, girl, leave me alone. Like, I'm dealing with too much. Like, just fucking leave me alone. And she had a kid. She had issues with stuff that she was doing. And like I told you, my mouth was slick. I said some stuff to this girl. I told her kid was like that because of the stuff she was doing. I was wrong for saying it, but it was the truth. You know, I was wrong, but it was the damn truth. And okay, so she got upset with me, of course, now because I'm talking about her and her kid, and she jumped, and we fought. And that it was what it was. And like I told y'all, when I fight, and I take all my anger out on the person that I am fighting. And that's just me. And I already had a feeling about her. I didn't like her anyway. So it just made it all the more easier to do so. But I was wrong. We fought, and what stopped me from fighting her was I went to pick her up and slam her on the ground, and something popped in my knee, and I went down. I had to stop because I was rolling on the ground, grabbing my knee like, oh God. Which I think they said I had torn some ligaments in my thing, but I would never let them operate on my legs. So like, when it get real cold, my legs are stiff up and I have pain in my leg because of that. And she goes, sis, you be my ass. I didn't know you fought like that. Like, oh shoot, like, oh shit. Like, she was like, I'm sorry, sis, I'm sorry. And that's how cool she was. And if I really would have known the truth, I probably would have been, I felt bad. Even when I found out, I was like, oh man, like, I'm so sorry. I would have never acted the way I did if I would have known the truth. So I had to, and she was so sweet because despite all that, she still loved me like I was her sister. And I was wrong. But she said she understood because she was wrong for, her and my sister should never have got in between, me and my kids. And I was just trying to look out for my kids. But I told her I was wrong altogether when it came to her because I thought something that wasn't right. And she would prove to be somebody that when I was at my lowest, she helped me and my kids out. So for that, despite everything, I have mad respect for her, no matter what. Her son, I look at her. My sister, that's her godchild, but I looked at my nephew. I always looked at him like my nephew, but I was wrong for how I treated him. I felt bad for that too. But me and my daughter, it was a strainful relationship between me and my daughter, man. Went down just because of the slickness. I mean, that girl she's so cunning and manipulative to it ain't even funny. She literally made me think something that was not it. And To her, when I told her I know what she did, it was like a freaking joke. Like, why are you joking about something like this? I don't know. But it made me open my eyes to who my child really was. And she is who she is. I try to help her, but I'm not gonna lie and sugarcoat junk to her. I'm not. But from that moment on, I had to really just look at her for who she was. And I pray for her. Pray that one day she get it together. I love her. I mean, that child revealed to me she done did some stuff or said stuff. She apologized for it, you know, but she did it. Or she persuaded a person to feel a way and it wasn't true. That hurt me to my core because we were so close at one point. She and my daughter, she told me that one time. She said, the way your mom was, it was just like how you are with your daughter when you was growing up. She was, for real? She was like, really? Like, she did everything. Like, it was just like that. And look at y'all relationship now. But our relationship is like that because I no longer will believe the lies, you know? And why this girl lies what she does is, I don't get it. Like, some of that stuff comes from stuff my mom fed her and made her believe. But some of that is her. It's just her. It's who she is. Because my other children were fed the same thing and they don't act the same way. So the difference got to be that's just who she is. She done did some messed up stuff, man. To a lot of people's lives. To her children's lives. To her family, to her sisters, to her brothers. And she always figure her way about it. She's just selfish about it all. It don't make any sense, really. You know, there's just so much, man. So much. Like, even the situation that's going on right now, I find out that my mom has talked to my children to persuade them not to talk to me through the years. I'm like, with my daughter going with stuff now, and I'm finding out stuff about her. I'm like, why you didn't call me? Well, grandma told me not to call you because you're not going to tell me the right way to be a wife. What? I'm supposed to listen to my husband and do what he's saying, so I gotta deal with whatever. No, you don't. And if she told you that, she was wrong. I didn't know no better. Okay. Do you think the woman would pick up the phone and talk to me now that I know the truth? No. No, people would be like, she wrong, but she old and she's stuck in her ways. That's no excuse, man. That's no excuse. You're literally lying to people. You're literally altering people's lives. You're literally doing stuff that people are, from what you're doing and saying to people in their lives, are causing them to do other things to other people. That is wrong. That is wrong. I don't care how you look at that, man. That is wrong. And even now, I tried to do it when I said, well, we'll all talk. We're going to all talk because this got to stop. All these lies and stuff got to stop in my family. Like, all the generational curses got to stop. We all need to talk. So either we talk or I talk. But somebody's going to talk to get it all out there. And stop telling lies to everybody. Do you think they reached back out to me and said, let's talk? No.
not my family, but the people that I put in the chat that wasn't family but are tied to it, they reached back out to me to talk. But the ones I need to talk to didn't. I'm sure because my mom probably called everybody. I'm sure because of what's going on. Don't listen to her. She just going through her thing. Nobody has to talk to her. So much. So the daughter that I'm here right now, I've been here since November. But until after I started that thing, because of everything that's happening, and nobody's willing to help with anything. But she can't freaking understand that. She locked the door. I couldn't even get to his bathroom. I'm like, why did you lock the door? That's crazy. Like, what's going on? Because I said, can you come here real quick? I was getting ready to show her something that I was making. And she told me no. I was like, why you don't want to come? She was like, I'm just tired. I'm just stressed out. What you stressed over? And why you got the door locked? You know, I'm not even thinking about the message that I signed. But then I said, what's wrong? I could see her face. I'm like, what's wrong? She said, because of the message. I'm stressed. I said, why are you stressed? Because of the message I wrote. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it, Mom. I don't want to talk about it. I said, what's wrong? Be honest with me. Don't hide nothing from me. I said, okay, then let me see your phone. Let me see your phone so I can see who said what to you. Because I've been here ever since November and I ain't had no issues like this until I wrote what I said.